in defence of Wayne Bennett from Allen. Look at Eddie Jones and the Union team. They had a blip leading up to the World Cup, but they were there when it mattered. Same for Bennett and England for the World Cup. This is our blip.
Well, the next thing I was going to say was if you break down every game, there have been moments in those games where you don't get a lot of chances at international level. You have to take them. So against Tonga, the one chance in the game was that last play before half time, where they came up with a 16 pass move that in any other sport would have been played on the news reels ad infinitum. Basically, that was the difference between the teams. Yeah. And that's a piece of skill that you wouldn't want to I don't know how you defend that.
Well, that's the thing. I was at the game and I remember watching a replay of it. They defended it quite well. They were sliding, they were coming in, they weren't committing too many players, and Tonga were just side to side, nothing on. And then, I think it was Jennings breaks a tackle and puts in a perfect grubber. Mm. You couldn't really defend against that. But that was the difference. And in the second test, the first one against New Zealand, the second game of the tour, it was basically Bromwich's
tackle.
Yeah.
Well, there were two.
But the worst performance was the third one.
Well, I would say there were two breaks down the right-hand side in the second test. One where McGillivray could have passed inside, chose to hang on to it. But again, I think you've got to be there to decide whether that was the right decision or not. And then McGillivray trying to get the ball down and Bromwich coming from absolutely no right to make that tackle. No. But again, in the big minutes of the big games, that's what wins you them. Mm. Even this week, which was by far the most disappointing, at 20 points to 8, which is not a winning margin necessarily, we had 3 possible tries disallowed.
Yeah.
Now again, that's because we weren't good enough to take those chances. So Bateman couldn't quite get his finger down before Tuivasa-Sheck. Connor couldn't quite drag the ball in. He challenged for the kick. He almost caught that kick, and I think perhaps we could have scored off that. And then the Blake Austin one in the corner that he knocked on. Allied to that, and this is where I find the criticism of Wayne Bennett missing some of the points, that often it's the players rather than the coach. Tom Burgess coughing the ball up on the first tackle from a tap penalty under no pressure. James Graham and Alex Walmsley knocking on at the play the ball cold.
There was a lot of errors, yeah.
Now, though you wouldn't have got odds before the game that those 3 players of such international experience would make such basic errors.
I think compounding that is the selections which have gone on a fast school when you've got Blake Austin.
I agree, but
Jack Hughes in the centre.
But we've also just lauded Tonga, who played Katoni Staggs at scrum half.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and when I look at the great Australian teams, it's often been, we've got guys that play in the same position, but we've got to find a way of integrating them into the team. Yeah. So even though you might be a centre, we're going to play you on the wing. Even though you might be a scrum half, we're going to play you a hooker. I think we get too hung up about playing players out of position. I think you hit it bang on the head when you said we just haven't got enough quality players.
I think that's definitely part of it, but I think taking 7 halfbacks and 2 wingers and 1 centre.
But was that,
and then the injuries which have been unfortunate.
Yeah, Gildart,
Thompson and Gildart in the first game.
That's the other thing about Tonga, that you're going to play the biggest, most mobile pack in the world, and you lose your one player who is big and mobile after 10 minutes. And little things like that you can't legislate for. But even if Bennett said, "Well, I want to have a look at some combinations effectively for England in case I've got some players injured,"
yeah, he shouldn't be doing that.
No,
that's the thing.
But is that behind it as well? That
but that just basically shits all over the whole concept.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what there's more than one issue.
Yeah, I know. I think there's a multitude of issues.
And the easy thing to do is for people to go straight on social media and go sack Bennett. But it doesn't actually solve the fact that we haven't got enough quality 3/4. And Makinson and Percival were really missed, but they weren't available.
Yeah.
You mentioned Australia A and what they did to France. You look at that team, and if that had been the full Australian national team and they were all under 23 years of age, it would have still been a damn fine team.
Yeah.
We haven't got that depth, because all the issues that we've always talked about for years and years and years about playing too many games, overexposing our players, not having that tier of intensity up from the Super League competition. There's people saying that Super League's getting better every year, and it's referenced by the fact that it's a closer competition, and that then leads into a debate about it's great that we've got the salary cap. I don't see it. I see Toronto buying Sonny Bill Williams and everybody in the game going, that's a big story, we'll put you on the back page. To me, Simon Moran now needs to pick up the phone and go, right, well, if they've got Sonny Bill, we want the next best player.
But they've got Gareth Winnop.
But
they tried to sign Tuilagi.
But the whole idea of having a salary cap was twofold. One was so that everybody had a chance of winning the competition. We're entering our 25th year of Super League and only 4 teams have won it. So the salary cap hasn't worked on that front. And the other was to self-regulate clubs from themselves so they didn't go bust. Well, we're not allowed to mention the team not far from here because we talk about them too much apparently, or we don't like them.
Yeah, I don't.
But the salary cap didn't help them, did it? So all of this about getting the right level of intensity of competition, to have enough players that can make the step up to international level, all needs addressing.
Well, I think that's it does come back to several issues when you've got participation, coaching standards, the pathway, lack of reserves. Yeah, they do feed into each other. There's no easy answers. There's no quick fix.
The only easy answer is the same answer that we've had for years and years and years, and that you have less teams in the top flight, you have less games, and you have a greater intensity of competition.
Well, I have advocated.
I mean, it's really interesting. Shane Richardson's written something today about what he sees the game going forward in the Southern Hemisphere, and he again is talking about how important the international dimension is and how we've got to put that back. He wants 22 games in the NRL to accommodate more international rugby league. He wants a 9 circuit now. Well, Mike, we're at 29 already, plus playoffs, plus the Challenge Cup. We're never going to compete.
Something's got to give.
Yeah, if they're talking about coming down from, 26 in the NRL with no Challenge Cup, and they want to go to 22, we're miles behind.
Well, I've said for a while that there's three leagues, 3 tiers can't be sustained with the amount of clubs and the amount of distribution that goes out. It'd be better concentrating it, and then you pull the talent. But that's just my
But
view.
then that directly feeds back into the fact that do you pick unbalanced squads because we sort of mentioned this last week and throw it out to the good people that listen to this programme. There wasn't a huge clamour as to who hadn't been selected when the squad was announced. We all went, a lot of halfbacks in there. Let's hope a winger doesn't get injured. But nobody really came up with 5 or 6 alternative players. We were talking about Liam Watts is a bit unlucky. Stephen Ratchford probably could have been thrown in there for his utility value.
Yeah, he would have been handy because
and maybe Regan Grace. But again, I defer to the fact that Wayne Bennett at the moment doesn't think he's physically developed. Now, I don't know whether that's right or not, but I would presume. I think his speed more than makes up for that.
Yeah, I think it's probably that he likes big wingers.
Yeah.
He likes big bodies. He likes.
And the thing about Wayne Bennett, and I don't know if this is right or not, and again, you all know far better because you've seen his teams play in the flesh. He seems to have this belief that if you can stay with the side for 60 minutes, you can beat them in 20. But to do that, you've got to take your chances, which is what we didn't do in the World Cup. We actually stayed with Australia for over an hour. We had that one chance that we couldn't take, which may or may not have won the World Cup, but was clearly a turning point moment. And he's doing it again in this series, that if you can be level or level-ish after 60 minutes, we play our best rugby then when Darryl Clark comes on. Now that's no criticism of Josh Hodgson, because he might be needed for that first 60 minutes to keep it tight. And then when the opposition are being almost ground down in the arm wrestle, it's Clark that can come on and open them up, and that frees up Jackson Hastings a little bit more. That seems to be the way he plays. I don't know whether that's right or wrong, because I'm not a super coach and he is, but you've got to have enough players to be able to change things off the bench, and we haven't got that.
Well, I think in terms of how the game's played more in the NRL, it is more about completions and defence and keeping your errors down and then winning that arm wrestle. And that's how the Kiwis played. That's how Australia plays, New South Wales, Queensland. A lot now. I mean, I know a lot of people want to throw back to the 80s and the 70s and we've got to play the English way and that sort of thing. But the English way has been getting beaten for 50 years.
Absolutely.
Like, it's not working, and it's not going to win you. It may win you the odd game, but it's not going to win you a series or a
World Cup.
You know, where you've got to win 4 or 5 games against top opposition. So yeah, it is difficult. I think in terms of the players, and you talked about selections. I mean, yeah, Regan Grace. I mean, Wayne obviously has his favourites and he sticks with those. I don't think
he's very loyal.
I don't think Ryan Hall should have been picked 4 games. And to be honest, he's a bit too one-dimensional for me anyway. And I'm not the coach, but he's a bit too one-dimensional as a player. Jermaine McGilvery admitted he'd had I think he said to me, a shit season.
Well, I think Wayne told him he'd had a shit season. Yeah,
well, he said that to me at the Nines. I think he could have done, with being left out. Not the end of his England career, but obviously Tommy Makinson was the automatic pick. He'll make it. And then if you don't take Regan Grace, then who is he? Is it Josh Charnley?
Well, it's Ash Hamley, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't think Ash Hamley's probably at the stage in his career where he's ready to play elite level Test football. So, yeah, and then when you look at the centres, again, there's just a lack of options, particularly with Percival being injured. Watkins is not at his best. And who else? Josh Griffin? I don't... Yeah.
You see, you give Tom Burgess 3. Not a good night, you said. Tim says he's got hands like feet. Stephen says, no, we're an explicit podcast. I can say what Stephen says. Burgess has hands like cow's tits.
I think someone tweeted that.
Graham isn't a 13. Why didn't Griffin go as one of the best left centres in Super League? He could also play back row or wing. Regan Grace and Sam Gomkin should have been in the squad. Liam Watt should have been nailed on in front of Hill. Clark is far better than Hodgson. There's Stephen. He's got 4 people liking and laughing at his thing. The English and GB kicking game is dire. If Bennett wants a half-back to control a game, is there a better half-back with an excellent kicking game like Mark Sneed? Oh, don't say that name.
I think, Gareth Widdop, again, he's a class player, but he hasn't really had much miles in his legs, has he? So.
Again, it's easy from 12,000 miles away. I just think Lomax has had such a good season at 6 that even if you protect him for the first 20 minutes by sticking him at fullback, at some point you swap him and Widdop round. Because I think that Lomax with the ball in his hands offers so much more than Widdop does at the moment. And I understand that for the early part of a game, when you are trying to keep it tight, Leeds did it with Yestin Harris all those years ago. The absolute masterstroke from Graham Murray that he started him at fullback for the first 20-25 minutes of games, and when the opposition was starting to get a little bit tired, moved him up to stand off, and he was man of steel that year because he absolutely cut teams apart. But he protected him for the early part of the game, and then used him as almost like a different weapon. And he did that with the 2 hookers as well. That he had Terry Newton on at the start, who was there to beat the opposition up, and Lee Jackson coming on after 20 minutes. And that combination of Lee Jackson and Yestin Harris gave you a completely different dimension.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and England, or Great England, haven't had that balance.
No.
Now, I don't know if that's because Wayne is too intransigent in moving players and he's got a way of playing, or whether at the moment we just don't have enough quality players to change things. I think Tom Burgess is very fortunate to be an England prop forward.
Perhaps who his brother was, didn't it?
I don't think he's had a particularly good season.
Which Wayne would have seen week in, week out in every training session.
Yep. Well, he is one of those players who, and that's why I think the players love him, because if you're his player, he'll stick through you thick and thin. He'll pick and stick, as the Queenslanders.
And I think he's looked at Liam Watts and probably thought, his game. Looked at Liam Watts and probably thought, his game this year has vastly improved, but we cannot afford at this level of rugby to be giving away a penalty. He can get the ball out. I like that. He can certainly tackle. He's doing 50 a game. A lot of the indiscipline that was in his game.
Yeah. The headbutts, etc. Yeah.
But you look at the penalties that are given away at crucial times in international games, and they hurt you a lot more than they do in Super League games. Now, I don't know whether that's the reason why Wayne or Kevin Sinfield or Jamie Peacock or Anti-Madge the cleaner at Red Hall thought that that's why he shouldn't be in the squad. But I would have taken him as a squad player, because I'm not sure Tom Burgess has earned the right to be there. And that would be my criticism of the
Yeah.
selections. That
Oh, I
you
think
can't
that's
say you're picking on form if there are people like Ryan Hall and Tom Burgess in there whose form
Yeah.
hasn't been good
Exactly.
enough.
So, some people would say perhaps that some of the backroom positions at the Great Britain squad are jobs for the boys. Some people would say that.
Some
You
people.
just did.
Some people would say that. Especially with their great records at club level. At Hull Kingston Rovers. Peter says, don't think Jackson can play in a structured side and almost a free role at Salford. We're going to also structured see how he goes next season.
You can't expect him to play a style that you do in Super League in the international level. That's just nonsense.
I'm not sure he's done too much wrong. I just
No.
don't think he's had the licence to do enough.
I think you saw in the second game when the game opened up, and he
And even
he
in
looked
the
quite
third
good.
game,
Yeah.
the
Well, the effort,
revolved around
the
him.
effort was there. He was trying to make things happen, but as a team, the performance was bad. So I mean, I don't think you can single out.
And you
any-
need to play. I mean, again, two of the guys that came back into that New Zealand team this week had a massive.
Oh,
performance.
Sean Johnson was amazing.
Johnson
wasn't
and Smith. You know, again, you've got to admire Michael Maguire because Brandon Smith is one of the emerging talents in the NRL, and for a disciplinary reason that they managed to keep in house, but may have involved alcohol. He dropped. It's a brave decision in a 2-match series.
It's good coaching.
But when he comes back,
Yeah.
makes a hell of a difference.
Well, when
Cody Sean Johnson is too big a player to drop, not for Michael Maguire.
Well, he got
How good was he when he came back?
Yeah, he got the desired result, didn't he?
Oh, he was fantastic.
And when you've got, you can bring Cody Nikorima in, who's a very good player,
And
and he makes 50 odd tackles.
Benji Marshall with perhaps his last game.
Yeah, I mean he was great on Saturday as well. Him and Johnson worked so well together. So yeah.
But we didn't have that. We didn't counter that. Woodop and Hastings didn't offer the same.
In the words of the coach,
But the Kiwis were playing behind a winning pack. The Kiwis were playing behind a winning pack.
They improved in the week, like several notches above how they played the week before.
We don't have enough players that can do that because they don't have to do it every week in Super League. They don't have enough international games. Now the Kiwis play 2 games against Australia every year. That must help.
Oh, definitely.
we got backwards. That's what the coach said.
Well, we've gone backwards from the week before. I don't think he said.
Coach said.
Well, we've gone backwards from the week before. I don't think he said compare us to 1988.
I was just looking. So I was thinking, going back to the Great
Bring back Al Rayleigh.
Going back to the
Super
Great
coach.
Britain point. Great Britain, this great brand which we're all buying into. How many Test matches in this country did they ever play outside of England?
What you mean in Ireland and Scotland and Wales?
Yeah. The current consonant parts.
I think the answer to that is probably nil.
Consonant parts.
I think the answer to that is probably nil.
Apparently played one at Tynecastle, but I don't know when that was. According to 1911.
Well,
that
that wasn't Great Britain.
it was England. Yeah, there's 11 draw. So why England played Scotland?
Can you
Crowd
explain?
8,000, so that's not bad.
Can you explain why England's playing Australia at Bolton?
We were talking about that just before you arrived. I think again it goes back to money.
Cheap.
That it almost gives you a guaranteed sellout in game one. And then as the bean counter at Red Hall, who have not a bean to rub together at the moment, it would appear. You rub your hands together and go, financially, we know this tour's going to be a success. The other thing is, apart from the Etihad, what venues are there in the northwest of England?
You think?
But if you've got a game in Yorkshire, I mean, it's not really far from Leeds to Bolton. Is it? I mean, yeah. I just would have thought. I just thought Newcastle.
But then I think they are. It's like, somebody.
It's not going to sell out St James's Park. But you might
somebody
get
quite,
25,
said
30,000.
quite justifiably, if we're going to Arsenal in the World Cup, why aren't we having a dry run at Arsenal in this Test series? Because I think you perhaps detract from the event that is going to the Emirates for a semi-final. If you can't sell out a semi-final, hopefully one that England are in, you shouldn't be staging the competition in the first. So I think to go to Tottenham, which is the state-of-the-art
I think it's great.
stadium in England, actually makes sense. I think the thing about Newcastle is that we're opening the World Cup there in 2021. I think to take a test match against Australia there and maybe it not sell out, or you're almost detracting from.
Because it could be even
It's
great.
just-
there,
we're
couldn't
taking
it?
a big
It's just
event.
the appeal, and no offense to anyone from Bolton, but the appeal of Bolton internationally.
No, I think it's the northwest of it. I would have said if you can't get the Etihad, which is the right side. I would have said if you can't get the Etihad, which is the right size stadium, because the rugby league fans have vetoed Liverpool. We don't like it there. The seats are too small.
I don't mind Anfield, but we have been there a lot, so
Yeah.
it is overkill.
So I
at
think
this point.
we
But
need
we're
to-
at Bolton every 5 minutes now.
Yeah,
as
no,
well, so.
I think we're going there because it's 28,000. We haven't played the Aussies since the World Cup final. We
So
haven't
you
played-
like to think that there will be a big crowd for that?
Well, if
Yeah.
that isn't sold out, we might
Yeah.
as well forget it. But
Yeah.
I think that's the logic behind it. We need to take it somewhere that the BBC can go around the ground and show every seat's taken, and maybe even if we're clever, we can announce that it's sold out a month before and it's the hottest ticket in sport
Although-
that day. But
If we do that, let's not take the example of the FA who said, "Oh yeah, England versus Germany women is sold out," and then announce a crowd of 77,000 at Wembley.
I think you're right that it's about ambition and imagination. And
Yeah.
we haven't shown it with that first test venue. Had we announced the venues and dates earlier,
Which they should have done.
which
Why
most sports do,
Why didn't they announce them at the same time as the fan club thing, which they announced the day before?
I would have possibly had Manchester if they wanted a game in the North East.
Well, that's what I would have.
but not Old Trafford,
I would've-
because that's where we've
Yeah,
had the
I
grand
would have
final.
thought you kind of go for big
And then
big
Leeds,
cities.
and then
Yeah.
London. Although, as we said, there's probably a very good reason, like the NFL have already pre-booked it, but your first game really should be London. Because you can't lose with that in a three-match series. We could be going to Tottenham with
And you should
Great
be,
Britain or England already having won the series.
you should
2-1.
be able to tie into a fair expat pop. Expat pop.
Absolutely.
To see the best.
That's what we
Australian
keep
players.
saying every time we play a game in Australia, in London.
Well, I mean,
all the Aussies still live there.
But
like,
it
Well,
needs- it needs
2013
telling. It needs telling.
Double header did. I'm sure there was.
60.
Was it? Yeah. I mean that, and I'm sure there was.
60.
Was it? Yeah. I mean that, and I remember going on the train and there was a lot of.
Yeah, we were on the
expats of
tube
that.
coming
Yeah.
back from that and there were loads of...
Yeah. So I
Because
think
they
there was
couldn't
a
believe
point.
they could drink through both games. So.